Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to NS9 Live. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have our co-hosts, Jim and Tyler. What is up, fellas? How you doing tonight?
What's going on, everyone?
Not a lot. Not a lot. Not for the Pirates side right now.
Definitely not a lot going on for the
I'm
Pirates.
I was gonna say, I'm doing pretty good though. It is Wednesday, so it's hump day. We're closer to the weekend. It is 77 degrees today here. A brisk 74 tomorrow. So definitely enjoying that. How about you guys?
1 week until Christmas, officially.
Yeah. Have you guys completed your shopping?
No, I haven't started. What's up, Tyler?
I know. What's up, Tyler? Tyler, I know what you want for Christmas. He's really not even responding.
I want a new computer. That's what I want.
God, do I hate this man.
Tyler's like a second delayed, so it's just gonna take him a little bit of time to answer any sort of question tonight. It might catch up though. Oh, now you're all blurry. Unreal. Ohio.
Just the absolute worst. Well, anyways. I've completed my Christmas shopping, per se, I guess. Though Jonquil doesn't know her gift is coming after Christmas, so so there's that. The 28th, it'll be here, Jonquil. If you're watching, love you.
I did get my wife's present already. She is
Love you
already
too,
shopped
Jonquil.
for. She's already shopped for, but no one else is.
That's the delay we're working with right now. Holy hell. We're in a whole nother topic. Oh, dear Lord. All right. I don't know where we're going right now.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
How about this? I'm going to read you this ad here. So BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA and college basketball, NHL to UFC, head to BetOnline today. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, a few things to talk about tonight. We're going to definitely get into. Jim, we're going to play a video. Jim had a congressman on once again. This is pre-recorded, so yes, buckle mic, chill for a bit. This one's pre-recorded. There's a timing issue, but we'll play that. Chris is back on, talk about something that I think is going to be pretty interesting for a lot of people want to hear. And then we're going to talk a little bit about like the NL Central, what's happening. Again, the Pirates haven't done too much recently, but there's definitely been things happening, mainly Cubs-centric with the NL Central. So let's kind of see where things stack up right now. I would probably say right now, Tyler's looking very much like the St. Louis Cardinals of the NL Central. So there's that. He'll get that joke in about 10 minutes.
Tyler's been trying to trade his third baseman. He just won't let him.
No deal. He's like, I ain't leaving. That's about the drop.
How about that story today, though? Apparently, the Astros and the Cardinals were pretty close to a deal, and Nolan Arenado saying no thanks.
That was good timing for once, Tyler. Yeah, that's interesting. I would have assumed that would have been a location that he would have said yes to. I mean, given the city, given the talent of the team, there's certainly an opening in a position to play. Like that sounds like they're going to let Bregman go somewhere else and sign or trade for him. And like, do you want to stay in St. Louis and the Cardinals or to go to Houston Astros, who are pretty successful? So I was kind of shocked by that.
Yeah. I could see, and I guess the reasoning for it is basically he doesn't want to be dealt this early. Like this was kind of the first offer on the table that he really got. I mean, because if you're Arenado, you're sort of in the driver's seat, right? Like at this point, that you're probably going to be traded. So it's like, why make up your mind where right now? Like,
Right.
okay, so you got something cooking with the Astros. I'm gonna go ahead and say no for now, but so go try somewhere else. So I mean, I understand why he did it. I mean, if he has other cities in mind that he'd rather play for, just wait it out. And then you know what? If you can always go back. You can always go back and accept a trade to the Astros later.
But can you? I mean, that's the interesting part. Like, yeah, that's a way to play your hand. But if the Astros are trying to make a trade and you say no, and that signals for them to say, well, you know what? Maybe we got to hop on the Bregman trade again or signing. And then they signed Bregman, then that's now gone. And are there other teams that want you and now you're stuck in St. Louis or a lesser? Again, I'm just saying.
There will be plenty of teams, I would imagine, that will be at least pretty interested in adding Nolan Arenado to their team. I mean, even in a down year last year offensively, he was a 3-WAR player.
Right.
And it sounds like the Cardinals are willing to either, give him away really just to get the salary off the books, or, maybe they eat a little bit to get something in return. But I mean, if you're a team and you need a third baseman, he's out there and he's basically free outside, his 30, $30 million contract that he's owed. Yeah, $32 million this year. But think about Arenado too. He's kind of interesting in that 32 million this year, 27 next year, 15 in 2027. So like you're not committing to a ton of money with Arenado over a 3-year span. Like I feel like you're like that's pretty fair value for a third baseman of his caliber.
It is. But think about this though too. Well, we'll definitely talk more about this later. But like Bellinger was a 2-WAR player making 25, 27, I guess, this year, and basically got traded for nothing. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, like what the value is in return.
Yeah.
Is there breaking news, by the way?
So the only person who has it is Cody Duncan. But so I don't know if we want to go ahead and report that, but Cody Duncan is saying that per a source, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Andrew McCutchen have agreed to a 1-year, $5 million deal pending a physical.
Well, boom. There's info.
So if that's the case, that's something.
Right.
We'll wait for confirmation.
Get that confirmed.
Yeah, we'll wait for some like just a second person there, but yeah, that would be something to talk about tonight. That kind of derails our conversation a little bit. I might need to change the title of this show.
Cody has had that before, hasn't he?
I think
Cody had the Andrew McCutchen signing, I think, the first time around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got a monkey see the eyes closed, the ears closed, and the mouth covered. So possibly Andrew McCutchen's back. 1 year, $5 million deal, which I think a lot of us anticipated was going to happen. So it would be nice if that is like official right now. We can all like take a big sigh of relief that it happened for those that are actually wanting Andrew McCutchen back on the team, because I think there was a little bit in the back of our mind, like, is it possible it might not happen? So there's that. There's that. Cody Duncan, shout out to Cody. First on it, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, he's still the only one. But yeah, that'll give us. Let's kind of stick with the NL Central stuff, and then once this gets confirmed, we can shift gears. But yeah, the Arenado stuff, interesting. Like I said, I feel like he's gonna definitely be moved at some point, which is encouraging if you're a Pirates fan. He's a good player. You would rather him not be on the Cardinals. Seems like the Cardinals are going through a little bit of a rebuilding phase right now, so you expect them to have another down year. But yeah, it looks like the Cubs so far have been they've been the team that's been most active, both acquiring people and dealing people away.
I guess like my thought on this whole thing about the Cubs, and we've been talking about them, like that's the sleeping giant that's going to be potentially awakening soon. When they made the trade for Kyle Tucker, again, you're talking about a very, very legit player, but he's only got 1 year left. You're not signing Kyle Tucker, or you're not trading for Kyle Tucker in hopes that you can't extend him because you want him for, the next year and the following year. You're trading for him because you want him now. So they're going. The Cubs are going to make sure that they are a contender. Now, of what degree, we'll find out. But like that's certainly what the Kyle Tucker trade signaled for me.
What about you, Tyler?
It's an upgrade, obviously. If you guys can hear me clearly, hopefully. But obviously, it's an upgrade. Kyle Tucker over Cody Bellinger, cheaper. I think it's an upgrade. Like, Cody Bellinger's not great, but I don't think you guys can hear me, so maybe I'll just shut up for 5 seconds.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker's a big upgrade to Cody Bellinger. 78 games last year, put up a 4.2 WAR, 180 weighted runs created plus. I don't know what's wrong with Tyler right now. Like, Jesus, dude. But yeah, big upgrade. Like if you're just a straight up swapping Cody Bellinger for Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger is not who he used to be. Not who he used to be. Like he's basically turned into a 2 to 3 WAR player, which is a good player, but it's not the Cody Bellinger of the past, not the Cody Bellinger of the Dodgers, not the Cody Bellinger who, was in MVP races. Kyle Tucker, on the other hand, MVP candidate. Like if he does what he did last year over the course of an entire season, you're looking at an 8 to 9 win player heading over to the Cubs, which yeah, he was just that was his best year of his career, just in limited playing time. Just offensively was a monster. 408 on base percentage, 585 slugging percentage. The dude was outrageous. He is on an expiring deal, so he's only got 1 year left. The Cubs did give up a lot to get him. One of them being Isaac Paredes. So he's out. He's going to Houston, which is a better park for him. He's a dead pull hitter, right? I mean, Houston just makes sense for him as well. But yeah, the Cubs getting Kyle Tucker, that's a big acquisition, because you now go, I think going into this week, I would have argued that, if we're talking position players only, Ellie De La Cruz, like I would have argued Ellie De La Cruz is the best player in the division. Now, probably Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker. With Ellie number 2. So you just added another elite talent to your division on a team that you're gonna have to face them 12 times next year.
Right. No, absolutely. I think Ellie De La Cruz has the potential to be number 1, but Kyle Tucker, I think, is easily the safest pick, bearing injury. But even with injury, he still could be, as you saw last year. Like how many 4-WAR hitters were in this division that only played less than 80 games, right? So, You're right. I mean, I think they're pretty smart with this. Cody Bellinger, they're dangling. We know the price point. The Cubs like to cry broke at times. They certainly could afford Cody Bellinger, but I mean, this is like a smart move. They unloaded his contract. They made a trade, got Kyle Tucker. What's interesting is like the Paredes trade last year, we kind of like wondered about that because I mean, hey, for one, the Cubs made a move at the deadline that helped them, but it was like one of those moves where I mean, they're not really going for the playoffs, that particular year. This is the deal that helps them in the future. But it was also like, but that's not the ball club that helps them out, or help him out, I should say. It's getting an odd fit. And now I'm not too sure if that was, the game plan back then, but it's like now you actually use them as a chip to get the guy that you really want. And that's what they're able to do. So they made a good trade last year. They're able to flip that to make an even better trade for this year. And I mean, this team is an absolute contender. And our friend Dan Zamborski did release Zips today. So that's part of the reason why we're talking, about this NL Central, because you're seeing some of the projections and we can talk about that some more. But it's like, once you kind of see that on paper, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, this is a legit squad.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me the most about the Cubs projection, and like I said, they're projections. We've had Dan on multiple times. He walks you through how this works. 50% of the players are going to hit their projections. 50% of them aren't, right? 10% of the players are going to hit their 90th percentile. 10% aren't going to hit their 10, right? So like there's a range here of outcomes, but there's a whole lot of players on this Cubs team with a 4 in front of their projected WAR. And like I said, that's not saying they're going to do it, but the Pirates outside Paul Skeens, they're not going to have anybody with a 4 next to their name. The Cruz will probably have a 3, but that's it. But you got Dansby Swanson projected 4.9, Pete Crow Armstrong 4.0, Kyle Tucker 4.5, Nico Horner 4.3, Seiya Suzuki at DH is 3.5. Like these are really good play. Ian Happ 3.7. These are good players, and these are better players than what the Pirates currently have on their roster. So it's just a little daunting, I guess, when you say, yeah, again, projections are projections, but at the end of the day, you'd still rather have players who are projected to be good than players who are projected to not be good. Like I said, anything can happen over a 162 game season, but the Cubs have put themselves in a pretty good spot. And you look at them, that pitching rotation's solid too. Like that's a good looking major league rotation. And that lineup, there's no holes in it. Really, there's no holes.
Yeah. This, like I said, this is when you look at this, it's like, wow, you knew the team was going to be pretty good. Then looking at the projections, and it's like, wow, that's tough. And right, I mean, again, like I have a love-hate with projections. I think people put too much stock in it. Like, oh, this guy's going to be 3.7 because it's projected. And it's like, I mean, you got to understand what they represent, what they mean. And again, you're talking about a full season, and just take this with a grain of salt, of course. Individually, I feel like, it's good to play with. It's good to give you like an idea. I do like a more like holistically, so it's not like so much just looking at, I'm not focused on Hap being at 3.7. I'm just, what I am focused on is like you said, Jim, when you look at everyone on this team, no one's under 2.5 WAR. Yes, some are going to out, beat their projections. Some are going to underperform the projections, but like holistically, that's a solid damn ass offense. Again, 2.7, 2.5, 2.7, 4.3, 4.9, 3.7, 4, 4.5, 4.5. Like that's the projected WAR of all the positions on this club. Sir, this is a problem.
I think I'm back now.
Holy hell, Tyler's back.
Let's go.
I'm back, baby. And just looking at this, man, you look at their lineup from last year and all these guys, it's hard to find one of these people who you would think might not hit that number. Like maybe PCA, if, I don't know, maybe he falls off defensively, but then you're also thinking he's probably going to improve offensively a little bit. And even if he doesn't, he's still really good defensively. Bush and Shaw in the corners are like 2.5 WAR plus from your corner infielders is tough to beat. Really, if I'm a Pirates fan, and I am, and you look at this and you compare it to where the Pittsburgh Pirates are right now, maybe you give the Pirates an edge pitching wise, at least on the upside part of it, because I think upside wise, you think Paul Skeens is going to be really good next year. A lot better than last year. Maybe not ERA wise, but you're going to get a lot more longevity, you hope. Jared Jones, you hope you get more innings out of him. Mitch Keller, you hope he takes a step forward and isn't a 4 ERA guy. And you probably hope your bullpen's better than the Cubs is. But it's also December 18th. The Cubs can get a lot better there.
Yeah. So
True.
Stratman asks, do you have this chart for the Pirates? And no, the Pirates haven't been released yet as far as Zips projections go. We do have steamer projections for the Pirates, which typically aren't too far off of Zips projections. And so if you want to just kind of do a comparison here, right?
Boom. Look
so,
at me, Jim. I'm ahead of you, buddy.
Look at you.
Look at
you.
Look at me. You
So-
know what? Give me a Tyler pat on the back.
Yeah, that's actually a good job. Look at you. Pitching wise, the rotation, especially the top three, looks really strong for the Pirates. Like you go Paul Skeens 5.8, Jared Jones 2.5, Mitch Keller 2.3. Those are strong numbers. And then you can piece out the rest of your rotation. You got Oviedo, Falter, Chandler, kind of all in the mix there. You know, you imagine Chandler's going to get some work this year. The offense, though, whew, it's when you compare the offense to the Cubs projections, it's rough. You got O'Neal Cruz sitting there at 3.3. So O'Neal Cruz right off the bat, your best hitter, but the Cubs have, I believe, 5 hitters better than that as far as projections go, maybe 6.
And understand this too.
Yeah.
The article will come out individually. We'll find out who's. I mean, this is also they do it by position, so it combines everyone who's going to play that position. It's like it could be a combination of this guy's going to get 4 and that guy's going to get 1, so it equals 5, right?
Yeah.
But regardless, like it still shows a pretty good example. But yeah, there are. I mean, the entire outfield 3.7, 4, 4.5. The middle infield is 4.9, 4.3, and then your DH is 4.5. So yeah, there's currently 6 positions that are 4 WAR or higher. These only 3 more.
And
they're at a 3.5.
So if you're looking and you say that where, okay, the Cubs have 4, you said 6 positions at 4 or higher, right? The Pirates are going to have 0.
Yep.
The Pirates will have 0 positions projected at 4 wins or higher.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is 5. My bad. There's 5.
Yeah. So it's yeah, I mean it's a big gap. It's a big gap, and so that all that means is one, you need to acquire another bat for sure, and you need your players to just get better. You need them to get better. Like Nick Gonzalez can't give you just a 1.5 WAR season. Brian Hayes can't give you 2. Brian Reynolds can't give you 2.3. O'Neal Cruz probably can't give you 3.3. Like what you're going to have to do this year is O'Neal, like who's going to be your 2013 to 2015 Andrew McCutchen, right? You need someone to take that kind of a step. And O'Neal Cruz is really the only guy who can do that. Brian Reynolds, maybe, we saw him put up a couple really, really good seasons so far throughout his career, but O'Neal Cruz is your guy who clearly has the highest ceiling on the offense. And so you need him to hit it. Like you need O'Neal Cruz to make a significant improvement this year to where when we're talking about the Kyle Tuckers and the Ellie De La Cruzes of the world and we're saying, hey, who's the best player in the NL Central? Like O'Neal Cruz needs to put his name in that hat. Because if he doesn't, the Pirates, they're going to be behind these guys.
100%. It's like I said, it's one thing. You can look at the Cubs and say like, oh, that's some of these guys are too high. And sure. If you're splitting hairs that one guy is not going to be a 4.5 WAR player, is going to be a 3.5 WAR player, fine. But that's still a 3.5 WAR player. right? Like you're talking about, like the best projected one here. And again, this is steamers, not the same model. It's a little bit different. And again, it's individuals, not the totality of the position. But right, like O'Neal Cruz, 3.3, Brian Reynolds, 2.3, and that's it. Anyone over 2. How Horwitz and Hayes are at 2 and everything else is under. You have a lot of work. And you talked about the pitching side. So if you look here, like I have it listed, 15.9 WAR is what they're projecting from the Pirates as far as pitching goes. Guess what the Cubs were? Basically
What were the
the
Cubs?
same. Basically the same. So again, like I think it's definitely like top heavy. And here's where you also can talk about projections are also safe, right? Like Skeens having a 5.8 WAR, like Tyler was saying, like he might not have as good as an ERA, but like he could be a 7 WAR player this year, even 8 WAR player. Like that, that you can certainly see that. He's here at 5.8, which like we were talking about before, when we're talking about these projections, he's like the best pitcher that in steamers. But typically your best pitcher in Major League Baseball doesn't have a 5.8 WAR. So, there's some safer projections here, with the Pirates and such. But again, in totality, you just look at the Cubs and they blow the Pirates away right now.
Yeah, I think the bullpen's a big part of that as well, though. And I do agree that projection-wise, definitely the Cubs do blow them away. But when you look at Bednar, you hope he's better than a 0.8 WAR. Like, he needs to get back to regular David Bednar. Colin Horderman has to get back to Colin Horderman being a dude. Like, you need that back end to kind of bridge some of the offensive woes. And Jim, you hit the nail on the head there that a lot of these guys, someone has to take a step forward. Someone's got to be the Starling Marte as well. Someone's got to be the Neil Walker. Someone needs to be the Pedro Alvarez. Like, it can't just be O'Neal Cruz being Andrew McCutchen, and that's all we hope for. Like, a lot of guys have to take a step forward, and I think we're all on the same page that that's where the concern is. A lot of things have to go right again.
Can I jump in here too? Alex Stumpf, quote tweeting the Andrew McCutchen news with source, nope. Both sides have been open that they want to keep Cutch in Pittsburgh, and I fully expect a new deal is going to happen at some point. As of right now, though, there is no agreement.
Yeah.
So we'll wait.
I'm not going to poo-poo yet, but like, what if it comes down to like $1 million?
I don't think it will.
It will.
I don't either, but what if it did?
It won't.
What if it did?
But anyways, I guess that's one positive thing. Cutch isn't on here. So once he is officially, that might add a WAR.
I do think on the hitter's side, like maybe you hope for like a 2 to 3 win season from maybe a Joey Bart if you're looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's crazy of me, but I don't know. Like, defensively, I think he's better than they're giving him credit for here. And if he's a 95 weighted runs created plus guy, I would expect a 1 to 2 win season out of him. But
yeah,
we're splitting
100%.
hairs at that point.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew McCutchen's a 1 WAR player at this point, strictly as a DH guy.
There's no Suzuki as a DH guy though here.
Yeah, Suzuki's also got a little more upside in that bat. Like, you look and see what Seiya Suzuki did last year. And I mean, I feel like did he just like quietly do that too? I feel like no one really talked about Seiya Suzuki last year. 138 weighted runs created plus, 3.6 WAR, all while playing just god-awful defense in right field. Like, he had himself a year. Mm-hmm. He's actually been really good ever since coming over, to be honest. He's been a really good player.
Yeah, I feel like he struggled initially.
Raising my hand. Jared Triolo being a 0.3 WAR guy with a 92 WRC plus is kind of silly.
Yeah, that's true too. If Jared Triolo is at a 92 weighted runs created plus, he's probably a 2-win player.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Steamers probably. We're gonna trust Dan.
Keep in mind, Steamer is projected in Triolo to have 135 plate appearances. So
I was
that's
just going
why.
to say how many
Yeah.
at-bats. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense.
That's the other thing with these projection systems is like the playing time's always a little off.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, it's like I said, it's a bit eye-opening. Now, yeah, these are projections. It's the offseason. It's still early in the offseason. The Pirates can do stuff, but again, what I think this truly emphasizes is a few things, right? And one of them is being like how badly the Pirates do need a bat. Like this offense has to improve because we know how good the starting pitching could be. And here's another thing too, like Bubba Chandler at a 0.7, the 4.51 ERA, like we talked about a little bit too. Like that's kind of conservative. I think he has the ability to do much better than that. Right. So like there's some positive here. Like you could argue projections, but again, holistically, you see this offense the Cubs have, it completely outweighs the Pirates. And the pitching is actually like matching up pretty well overall. I think the Pirates have the ability to, of course, be a much better team pitching wise, but I don't think they have the ability to cancel out the Cubs offense, by their pitching. And that's where it comes down to. Like this team is starting for offense right now. And again, like Horowitz, like this is giving you a projection of 2 WAR and a 1 night, the best hitter on the team. So like that says something too. Like you made this deal that a lot of people are just like unsure of, and he's giving you almost what I feel like all people feel like best case scenario. And with that, you still look at it and it's like, man, you're far off.
I'm starting to get depressed.
Starting. I mean, you had like a 30-year head start.
31 years, but nobody's counting.
Not at all.
I don't know if depressed is the right word, but like definitely like you got to start seeing the urgency to do something at this point, because I mean, if we're just stacking this team up and we're just saying let's compare on paper, this is the 4th best team in the NL Central. It's the 4th best team. Like their saving grace right now is that they have the best pitcher in the world. Like that's the one thing they have that could propel them to being better than that. They got the best pitcher in the world. But like if top to bottom, the Pirates pitching staff isn't really all that different from the Reds. It's not really all that different from the Cubs top to bottom. Top heavy, it might be more top heavy. And it's also a lot gonna depend on like what's Bubba Chandler gonna do. Like, can Bubba Chandler come up here and do what Jared Jones did? Like, if Bubba Chandler gives you a Jared Jones type season next year, that's pretty good.
Also, like
rookie pitchers don't always do that though. Like, it's tough. You look at some of the best pitching prospects in the game. A lot of them struggle off the bat. And so like you can't necessarily count on Bubba Chandler giving you that type of success. Just like we weren't counting on Jared Jones to give you that type of success. We weren't counting on Paul Skeens to give us the type of success that he gave us. He's just a superhuman freak, right? And he was able to do that. So it's just there's still so many what ifs on this team. Like it really comes down to, what if O'Neal Cruz can take that gigantic step forward? What if Brian Reynolds can go back to being like prime Brian Reynolds, peak of his career type Brian Reynolds? What if Nick Gonzalez can take another step forward? What if Nick York can actually hit at the major league level? What if Ke'Bryan Hayes isn't a complete pumpkin, right? And he can actually be on the field and he can hit? What if IKF is competent at short? Like, there's a lot of what ifs here. What if Spencer Horwitz is actually a 130 weighted runs created plus hitter, like over a 500 plate appearance season? Like, it's a lot of what ifs. And the problem with a lot of what ifs is a lot of time those what ifs don't come to fruition.
For sure. And again, like you're talking what ifs, and of course we're talking about the Cubs and such, and they already have a lot of things answered to some level. Like they don't have a bunch of players that are coming off bad years or unsure years. I mean, even last year they had 7 guys on offense with a 2 WAR or higher. Now, one of them was Cody Bellinger. He's now in New York, and all they did was they traded that off for a guy who had a 4 WAR in half of a season. So again, like there's absolute talent. Last year alone, there was 4 guys with 3.5 WAR or higher. And again, you're adding now Kyle Tucker to that mix. So they have answers and they've improved upon it. Where the Pirates are still in that limbo of, like you're talking about, Jim. Well, what if this? What if that? We think we have this. We think we have that. Things have to come together still. There's still a lot of unknowns and a lot of unanswers for this ball club. And to Tyler's, like what Tyler said, like, yeah, like I'm not depressed. It's eye-opening though. It's perspective. This team is not close yet. There's still a lot of work that has to be done. Yes, Tyler, they figured out the hard part, as you continue to say, with the pitching. That's a plus. That's a good. I mean, they have Paul Skeens. Thank the Lord. I'm happy they have that, right? But like this offense, this isn't just like a bad away either.
It's not. We talked about the what ifs with the bats, but guys, there's what ifs with the pitching staff too. Like Jared Jones and Mitch Keller aren't complete pitchers at this point. Both of them are 4 ERA plus guys. So they have to take a step forward as well. I know I say they have the hard part figured out and the talent's obviously there, but they also have to get better. So you need them to get better, and you need literally everybody in the lineup to get better. There's upside here, obviously. Like, they have talent. I don't think that's a question. There's a lot of talent around here, and I think a lot of it's raw, and some of it's just you get into August, September, October, and you start to fall off a little bit. But for a complete season, we haven't seen literally anybody on this team other than Brian Reynolds, maybe 2-3 years ago, put together a complete season. I don't know if there's a single guy on this roster that has maybe David Bednar. And that was also 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could say O'Neal Cruz put together a complete season last year. Like, it had its normal peaks and valleys that a normal Major League Baseball season has. But no, I mean, to your point, yeah, there's no one else has. Like, the guys that you're relying on, Nick Gonzalez hasn't done it for a full season. Spencer Horwitz has never done it for a full season. Joey Bart has never done it for a full season. Andy Rodriguez has never done it for a full season. Brian Hayes has never done it for a full season. None of these guys have proven who they are over a full season. If anything, some of them have proven who they aren't. There's a few people who I think are really close to proving who they aren't. But yeah, it's again, I think there's still some reason to hope. Like there are things to cling on to and say, like, I could see this happen. I could see this happen. I could see this happen. And they don't need it all to happen. They just need like 3 or 4 things to happen, though, like significant things. And you can pick out what those are. You can say that's Cruz. You can say that's Hayes. You can say that's one of the catchers, and you can say it's Bednar, right? Like, if those 4 guys are who you need them to be, then this team is good. But if like 4 things don't happen in your favor, this isn't a good team.
And it's not impossible. Like, we've watched the Rays do things like this over and over again. Like, they find guys and they unlock some things. And the Pirates have made some moves with the coaching staff, and they've done a few things in the front office with development that I think you hope it's not the same old, where guys just kind of come to the major leagues and struggle a little bit. So they've made some changes. Really, in best case scenario, you hope they end up like the Rays, where they're kind of wheeling and dealing and finding some guys with upside, and the upside actually comes to fruition. It's possible. I don't think there's any doubt that there's a good bit of talent here. And like Jim said, there's hopefulness here. You just got to get there, man. Just got to get there.
I mean, again, it's a good way. And the thing is, the difference though with the Rays, you trust it. They've proven themselves so far. Whether you like Ben, don't like Ben, like whatever. Like, I think everyone can rationally say he hasn't proven anything yet. Even if you do like Ben and think he's a good GM and you're trusting the process, there's not a proven track record. With the Rays, you can say, you know what, I don't like this move, but I'll trust in it because they've proven me wrong time and time again. We don't know what's going to happen here. That's why there's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of uncertainty, and why fans can feel the way they feel because we don't know. But I also want to talk, and we can maybe, if we're still talking about the Cubs or not. I mean, I do want to talk because the Brewers made a crafty move, I felt as well, that, we weren't sure if they're going to hang around last year. Corbin Burns, they trade away, and it's like, this might be the signal that the Brewers' reign is done now. And they flipped that, and like it worked out well for them. And the Brewers did what they did with the division. And now, they also made a trade this year as well with the Yankees. They give up Devin Williams, a reliever, a great shutdown reliever, but it's like they get Nestor Cortez, and a prospect in return. And I mean, so now like the rotation, not that Nestor Cortez is like this elite type of pitcher, but like he was a 3-WAR pitcher last year. He has talent. I know the year before he had an off year in 2023, but like he's been a solid damn pitcher. And the Brewers cashed out on like their really good reliever, added a 3-WAR pitcher into the mix, and now like that rotation, we knew the offense was pretty solid. I know they lost, Adames, but then they gained Cortez. Like the Brewers are still here, buddy.
Don't forget too that they made the move last year to sign Brandon Woodruff to a 2-year deal. Woodruff's back.
I forgot about that.
So, like, you look at that rotation now, and you've got Peralta, Woodruff, Cortez, Savali's coming off a good season. Tobias Myers had a good year last year, as a rookie. Like, that's a solid looking rotation too. Like the young talent, like Jackson Churio was outstanding the second half of last year. They've got a former MVP in Christian Yelich who seemed like he figured it out last year, was just injured a significant portion of the time. Yeah, they still have Rhys Hoskins who's going to hit 25 homers. Like William Contreras all of a sudden became one of the best catchers in baseball. Like it's the Brewers aren't going anywhere.
No.
Like we were thinking that they were maybe rebuilding, retooling, whatever. They didn't go anywhere. They won 93 games last season. And they didn't get a whole lot worse.
If they did. They lost.
I mean, losing Adames is significant, but like that's it.
I mean, but like if Nestor Cortez comes in and does what you think he could do, and I forgot about Woodruff. Like he just comes back and like they might do it differently, but in totality, are they worse? I don't know. So and a full year of Yelich, hopefully.
Just looking at this apples to apples, and it's not, but going into the next year, are you taking Mitch Keller or Nestor Cortez? I think I'm taking Cortez.
They're both very different. Like I guess if you're looking, like I think Cortez is probably more likely to give you like that 3.2 ERA type season, but Mitch Keller is more likely to give you like 180 innings at a 4.0 ERA.
Ate like 170 last year. It's it's they just gave up
the second time he's ever
basically.
pitched over 100 innings. Also,
yeah, that's true, but they gave up a reliever, a very good one, but. It's things like that to keep you ahead of the curve. Like David Bednar last year probably should have been dealt if something like that was available. Maybe not a Cortez, or if a return like a legitimately productive major leaguer was available for David Bednar, which I don't know if it was. That's how the Brewers stay ahead. They're signing a Woodruff to 2-year deals. They're trading a reliever for a starting pitcher for 1 year and then hopefully signing him, or worst case scenario, deal them at the deadline and get what you can.
Yep.
We don't see that out of this team.
Just for For reference there. So Fangraphs has like their power rankings that they do. Keller's 52nd, Cortez is 54th. So they're basically the same, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. And
he was acquired for a very good reliever, but
Steamers
year left on his
has
contract.
Keller projected at 2.3 WAR. Although, of course, that is with 182 innings pitched. And with Cortez a 1.9 WAR, but 146 innings pitched.
But those are the things. It feels like other teams are always one step ahead. And the Pirates are just lagging behind a little bit in certain aspects. And they're not going to be able to be successful unless they can catch up here.
Yep. And that's the thing. Like, you're asking them to catch up, not be forward thinking. Back in 13, 14, like you talk about, Jim. Yeah, Andrew McCutchen helped, but again, they were thinking differently. They were being creative. They identified Russell Martin and the shift, and they were doing things. They were in the forefront of stuff. Right now, Tyler's words kind of speak to what we're talking about. Like, we just want them to catch up. So again, like we talked about the Cubs, the Brewers, and no, we don't have all their numbers out here. I didn't make any special charts on the Brewers, by the way. But yes, like when Zip starts releasing, we talk about them more specifically. But like the Brewers, I don't foresee much of a drop off, if any. So like they're definitely a team that's going to be contending for this division. And we haven't really talked about the Reds, but Ellie De La Cruz is there. You thought about he could potentially be the best player in this division. They've been stocking up on pitching. They haven't done a whole lot this offseason. Like they made a solid baseball move with the Royals that make somewhat sense. Like it really didn't make too much sense for each club, but like they each got a need. But I envision them not being done. Much like the other Pirates aren't done either, right? We know that. But there's 4 teams that are absolutely competing for the division this year. 100%. 100%. Like the Reds are in. They're going to, whatever level it's going to be, they are competing. The Brewers are competing. The Cubs are competing. And the Pirates, to whatever level they feel as, like they are competing. They can't not compete. So this isn't this just easy division, which is why we were like push the gas a few years ago, because what's we thought was going to happen is happening. This division is now tough.
It's tough because you haven't done your job. This division's still the easiest. It's the easiest division in baseball. It still is, even with what's been going on. Like you don't have to deal with the Mets. You don't have to deal with the Braves. You don't have to deal with the Phillies. You don't have to deal with the Dodgers. You don't have to deal with the Padres. You don't have to deal with these guys. You're dealing with a bunch of other teams that are in similar markets to you, with Cincinnati and Milwaukee, St. Louis, who's down, and Chicago, who has the money. They just don't spend it, right? So this division's not hard. This division's not hard to win. You just need to execute. And the Pirates, throughout this rebuild, have failed many, many times along the way to execute when it comes to acquiring talent. That's why they're in the position that they're in. Could the Pirates win this division? Yeah. Is it likely right now? No. Like right now, they probably have the 4th best chances. Like if you, I don't know what Bet Online has as their futures for MLB, but if you go to MLB and you look at NL Central futures, I would imagine the Pirates are 4th, maybe even 5th, but they're not 1st, 2nd, or 3rd.
Tyler's on mute, so I'm going to finish mine. What I just want to interject and say here, though, you make a good point, Jim. So yes, you are correct in that. This division was before, like there's one team that's probably going to be above 500 and the other 4 are going to be under. And now that's flipped. So when I say tough, I guess that's kind of where I mean. It's not top heavy, but there's absolutely 4 teams that are like battling it out opposed to 1. So like the Pirates wanted to put the foot on the gas a few years ago. They might have just only been competing with the Brewers. Now they got to compete with the Cubs and the Reds as well. Ty.
I can't believe I pulled a Jim. I started talking on mute.
By the way, Bet Online odds to win the 2025 NL Central. The Pirates have the 5th best odds. Cubs, Brewers, Reds, Cardinals, Pirates.
So the team that's coming out and said we're rebuilding, the Pirates don't even have better odds than them.
Yeah.
Okay, now what Tyler said. Now I'm depressed.
Yeah. We don't need him anymore. Goodbye. Love you, DiNardo.
What'd I do?
You made fun of me for being on mute, so I had to throw it back at you. Anywho, yeah, they're definitely probably the worst team in the division. They have to scratch and claw to even get into this race, and that's terrible to say with Paul Skeens in this thing. I, honest to God, don't know what they have to do to get there at this point, because you almost have to just catch lightning in a bottle. You need O'Neal Cruz, like Jim said earlier, to be an MVP candidate, and then you need the rest of the roster to improve. The Cardinals are always going to be the Cardinals, and they'll probably end up 4th or 3rd. I think maybe they could. Somehow I still feel like the Cubs are going to Cubs. I don't know why, but the Cubs just feel like a team that's none of those projections are going to hit. I can't foresee a path for this team to even be entering the wild card race. I'm sorry, guys. I can't see it right now. And it's December 18th. I know it. I just don't see it the way it's standing right now. And my mind might change in a week. They go out and do something, it can change. But I don't see it. I think we're still a year away.
That's a problem, though, if they are. And if they are a year away, it's not like any teams are really going away. So like that, the problem that we're talking about still kind of exists because all the teams are, I guess, except the Brewers, but they seem to be hanging around, are coming up with the Pirates as well. So yeah, again, like I'm not here to try to say like this is doom and gloom and it's it for the Pirates, but it's going to be tough. This isn't easy waters to chop through to be a contender anymore as it could have been a few years ago. So here we are. You know, the Cubs projections came out today. We talk about them, get some perspective. That's a good team, and there's nothing to say that they're done. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm not here to say any team's done yet. The Cubs could still improve. The Brewers could still improve. The Reds could still improve. Yes, the Pirates also could still improve. But I think if you look at it now, respectfully, those 3 teams are absolutely better than the Pirates at this point in time. I, for one, think the Cardinals will be in 5th place. They're not a trade's going to happen. Goldschmidt's already gone. Like they don't have any interest in competing this year. They've told their fans already they don't have any interest. I don't think they're going to be anything higher than 5th unless there's some absolute collapse by some other team. So at this point in time, the Pirates look to be about 4th in this division again.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals where they lack, I mean, I really like Mason Wynn. I think he's going to be really good, but their pitching staff just isn't there. Like Sonny Gray's good, but like, do you trust Eric Fetty to do what he did again? Miles Michaelis, 36 years old. These guys, I just don't. You don't trust their staff unless they plan on adding. But yeah, like right now, I don't know how you can objectively look at this division and say the Pirates are the 4th best team right now. Now, something could like Tyler said, they could catch lightning in a bottle. It could happen. But like they are positioning themselves to finish in 4th place as of right now. Now, offseason's not over. There's still some moves to be made. But it's not looking great. Especially if they are dead set on not pushing payroll past $100 million, it's just hard to see this team adding what they need to add to get them over the hump. The only thing I could see them doing at this point is something that I think Tyler and I disagree with. DiNardo can be talked into it. Like, You're trading Keller to free up money. Like, and I don't think that's a good idea. Don't think that's a good idea.
If I can maybe just put a positive spin on everything I've said tonight. They did win 76 games last year. What have they lost? Really nothing of relevance.
Negative WAR players.
They lost their only back end reliever who like didn't completely blow up.
I mean, he did for a while too.
He was, for the most part, he was pretty reliable. But he did have a couple games.
But he had his moments.
Yeah.
You hope Paul Skeens or you at least hope to get a full year out of Paul Skeens. You hope Jared Jones is better. You hope Mitch Keller actually does take a full season step forward. You hope O'Neal Cruz gets better. Maybe you get a full season out of Cabrian Hayes, and then maybe Nick Gonzalez takes a step forward. Spencer Horwitz continues to be a decent hitter. Like, if you do the mental gymnastics here, from 76 wins to like 84, I think we could leap there.
I think the wild card's in play. I think the wild card's in play 100%.
Like, they did win 76 games with crap.
Yeah, I agree.
They sucked last year. All right, I'm back on board, boys. Wild card or bust.
I think the wild card's in play, but right now I just feel like a lot of things need to go right if you want to win this division. A lot.
I apparently moved so much during that I just burned 500 calories, according to my watch.
There you go.
Got too excited.
You got all Chris Rose on us, just flailing your hands everywhere?
Yeah, I got way too excited. We're back, baby.
Do you want me
also, Bednar and Holderman might be good.
They have to be. Like, they have to be. There's no might. Like, if they're not, you're screwed.
I mean, really, Ben Sherrington is betting on his coaching staff this year. At this point, that's what it looks like.
Which he should. But you also need to supplement that. Because they can't win every game 1-0.
Maybe a new crew see some runs in center field. I don't know.
So, remember the spreadsheet I had up that showed the Pirates offense was going to have 17.1 WAR offensively? The Cubs are projected at 33.8 offensively. And we talked about the pitching is about the same. But you can ideally see the pitching for the Pirates being better. I can give them that. You're doubling the WAR offensively. Doubling. So that's what we're talking about. Like, again, objectively looking, the Pirates aren't close at this point in time.
Nope, they're not. Last year, the Pirates put up a 13.2 WAR offensively, by the way.
So 17.1 is an improvement. And really the improvement is because, again, like you talked about, what they moved on was the guys that have negative WAR.
They got rid of all the negatives. Yeah.
Right.
No one projects for a negative WAR either.
By just getting rid of those. But you have to add on. This team has to. And not in just a small way.
Can you imagine if Horwitz is a negative player?
I can't. I can't imagine it. I won't allow myself to. Because if that happens.
Oh, God.
Ben
Happy holidays, fellas.
August.
That was my present to you. That thought.
Yeah, let's. I mean, if that happens, it's done, right? Like,
yeah, it's over.
Like that's. Ben Sherrington doesn't make it to draft day.
Likely.
Well,
yeah, he probably still does.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Probably does.
So before we go to our last segment here, which Jim, I'll have you kick that off. Anything else that we want to talk about as far as the NL Central goes?
No, let's go. Let's do something. Like, just do something. they're going to have to. They got two options. They can either spend money or they can get creative. I have my doubts on both.
Yeah. All right. Well then, Jim, why don't you kick us off into our final segment here?
Yeah. So again, we're not like talking anything political here or anything, but the congressman representing Pennsylvania's 17th district, Chris DeLuzio, he has introduced a bill in Congress called the Fair Ball Act, which would make it so that minor league baseball players are protected under the same rights as any other worker in America. So I spoke with Chris earlier today. It's a short segment. He had a busy day today, so we'll play that and then we'll discuss a little bit afterwards. But if you've got 7 minutes or so, let's listen to Congressman DeLuzio. Represents a lot of you watching and listening to this. Pretty much if you live in Allegheny County or Beaver County or one of those two, you most likely are represented by Chris. So yeah, let's roll the tape. All right, so welcome back to the show, Congressman Chris DeLuzio from Pennsylvania's 17th district. Chris, how's it going?
Jimbo, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for hopping on. For those who don't remember you from being on here over the summer, you and I went to high school together, so we've got a relationship there. But over the past summer, you had a really large role in bringing on the Roberto Clemente Commemorative Coin Act, getting that bill passed. So that was cool to see that get passed earlier this month. But we've got something else cooking. It looks like that has a lot to do with baseball and the game that we all love. But before we get to that, I do want to say one thing. Congratulations on the big football win this past weekend.
I appreciate it, man. Maybe we were dogs against Army this weekend. We were, I think, we 6-point dogs, and we kicked some butt. It was a nice win. And look, Army had a heck of a year. They won the conference. I mean, they had a good team. We showed up. It was a big win for the Mids.
Yeah, Army had a really nice season this year, but I mean, that's the game that matters, right? So yeah, big win for Navy. Big win for Navy. So look, congrats on that win.
We spend our 4 years at Annapolis, and they do it at West Point. We do it saying beat Army, I mean, hundreds of times in a week. It is like seared into our brains. So I was pumped for the win.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So so I guess you're on today. Tell us about you are introducing the Fair Ball Act, which is a bill to strengthen worker protections for minor league baseball players. So I guess just fill us in a little bit on this. What's the main reason for the bill? What problem is this going to solve? What's the reason why this thing needs passed?
Yeah, for sure. And look, I introduced this in the House. Dick Durbin from Illinois has it in the Senate. So what's going on? Minor league baseball players for a long time have been paid pretty poorly. I mean, look, some of these guys get big signing bonuses, but a lot of these guys, they don't make much money. And so Major League Baseball a few years back got Congress to give them an exemption from minimum wage and overtime laws for minor league players, which is crazy to think about. The players a couple years back finally voted to unionize and join MLBPA, so with the major league players, and they got a contract about a year ago. And so what my bill does, it says, hey, Major League Baseball, you shouldn't get an exemption for minor league players from minimum wage laws, right? Like they get a carve out that no other employer in the country really gets if they're going to not pay players enough. And what's the point of this? Well, yes, the players in minor league baseball now have a contract. They got a CBA. But if that expires, if that falls through, they should have the protection, like every other worker in this country, of minimum wage laws and overtime laws. And I think it forces these billionaire owners to negotiate with the players union to make sure these guys have a fair contract. That's the goal. Treat these ball players like any other set of workers in this country who have the backstop of minimum wage laws and overtime laws.
Yeah, I think it was 2018. There was a bill passed that gave the exemption to Major League Baseball and when it came to the minor league players. The new CBA, it was a pretty monumental moment where the minor leaguers, actually joined the players union with the new CBA. So they're protected under this CBA, but it sounds like what we're doing with this bill is kind of more like a hey, let's make sure we make this like a law that these guys get paid at least minimum wage, but also as like a fallback if anything ever happens in future CBAs.
Yeah, and think about it. If you're the owners getting ready to negotiate a new contract because the terms are coming up soon, and you know that you can dangle over these players, but they don't even get the protection of minimum wage law, right? They have to fight just for not even something that's a living wage. You've got more power in that negotiation against these players. Players who, by the way, you're a baseball guy, your listeners are, it is really hard to make it to the show. Most of them never will. And these are players who spent their whole lives and careers trying to get to where they are. They ought to have the same benefits under the law that every other kind of worker in this country has. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you've got the support of the players union, right?
Yes, we do. Which is cool, by the way. I think it's pretty cool that the major league players, stand shoulder to shoulder with the minor leaguers here, right? Okay. These guys who made it to the show, made it to the big leagues, they've spent at least some time in the minor leagues. They know how hard it is for these players, especially if they're not, a top draft pick, someone who's been spending years. And most minor leaguers will never make it to the show. And so I think it's pretty cool to see the MLBPA and the major leaguers welcome the minor leaguers into the union, that help them in these kind of fights. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know before it always seemed like you had the major leaguers negotiating for themselves, and when there were concessions that needed to be made, you saw concessions being made with things like the draft and the minor leagues, because those guys didn't really have a say in anything. So I will say, like, that was a really neat part of the new CBA, was getting those minor leaguers involved so that they're under the at least similar protections of the major league players.
Yeah, for sure. And look, remember, you think about, look, this isn't a show about politics, but like, we're trying to pass a law to help these ball players. There are minor league teams in small towns all over the country. They're a really important thing for a lot of communities. They should want to make sure those players are treated decently. Those teams are strong. The major league owners have a reason to keep minor league baseball around. It's a pretty cool part of Americana.
Yeah, it's unique to baseball too. Like, there's no other sport that's like this, where you can go and, some small town in Illinois, you can see a 19-year-old Albert Pujols 3 years before he makes the majors, and 10, 15 years later, you can say, hey, I saw Albert Pujols when he was in the minor leagues. Or if you're a Pirates fan, hey, I saw Andrew McCutchen, or I saw Paul Skeens pitch in Indianapolis or Altoona. Like, hey, if you live in Altoona, yeah, you want the curve around for sure.
Absolutely. And look, maybe you get a rehab assignment for somebody who's, got a few weeks in AAA ball or something. Like, that's also pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
and
big
by the
too.
way, as like, Major League Baseball and every other pro sport becomes so expensive, the idea that you can take your family and you go see a ball game for a decent price in a lot of these towns, that's like not a small thing.
Yeah. Well, like I said, so without getting into like a civics lesson here, so the bill has been introduced. What's the next step for this thing?
There's only, what's today, the 18th. There's only a couple weeks left of the current Congress. In January, the people who just got elected or reelected like me, we come into the new Congress. So we'll introduce this again. We got 2 years to try to pass it and send it to the president's desk. In the Senate, that means they've got to get 60 votes because of the filibuster there. In the House, we got to have a simple majority. So the reason I brought up the small towns and the rural communities is, you should be able to get Democrats and Republicans together on this, because Major League Baseball and minor league baseball touch a lot of this country. So that's my hope, is we can get enough folks in both parties to do this, and who understand that billionaire owners of teams have a lot of power, a lot of money, and saying that minor league players should get paid at least minimum wage shouldn't be that controversial.
I agree. I think we can all agree that, like, people should be paid at least minimum wage. So I think that should be something everybody can agree on. And like you mentioned, this isn't just something for big cities. This is for small town Americana. This is for everybody. This affects just about everybody around the country. So, yeah, that's all I got. Unless you got anything else to add, but I know you're a busy man. It was a busy day today for you. But you got anything else to add for us for hopping off here?
You had me on I don't know, last year, Jim, around the congressional baseball game. We got some work to do. My guys lost this year. We're back at it this summer.
All right. Well, good luck. Good luck. Hopefully get a little better performance. But
I'm
you're
getting older, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, keep rocking the Pirates jersey though.
Always.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks, Congressman.
Cool. So that's some good news. And I think what cleared it up was, as mentioned, like we know the CBA was passed and the players are getting paid more, but this is mainly like we're going to revoke what we did and not allow you to continue that forward. That way, if there's a new CBA coming off, the team and owners can't say you're pull that from you. So, yeah, I think it's something that, a lot of people have been talking about. And again, like the league and the NLPA, they've come together and they've acknowledged that, but this makes sure that it stays that way. So good stuff.
Yeah. 2018, they basically they said, hey, minor league baseball players, you don't count. Like you don't count as real workers. And I feel like that's wrong. I think every one of us works for a living. Like you should be protected under the legal rights of minimum wage laws and things like that. So yeah, I mean, a pretty easy bill, I think, to get behind, no matter, what party you support. If you're a baseball fan, you want to make sure there's still minor league baseball around. If you're a Major League Baseball fan, you still want minor league baseball to be around too. So yeah, hopefully it's something that can get support from both parties and be passed into law. So that way, you don't have to rely on collective bargaining to make sure that these minor leaguers don't get screwed like they have in the past.
Yeah, and I think if you're a Major League Baseball fan, you want these guys to be paid a livable wage and allow them to go train for what they're trying to do to help the team you root for. I don't want them working at Publix in the offseason. I'd like them training to get to Major League Baseball. This helps the sport. Pay them a livable wage, and then at some point, hopefully we can root for them in the major leagues.
And like on top of that, maybe, the nutrition isn't a ham and cheese sandwich every day.
Right.
If they're lucky. Yeah. So I think it's good stuff. I'm all for it. And again, I think there was a big push before. It's good that, both parties came together and recognized that and did benefit, the minor leaguers. But again, making sure that this will be something that they can't even bargain on. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up our show for today. Any last words you guys have? Jim, Ty?
Let's go,
Sorry
Bucks.
for my internet, but
You're not
peace out,
sorry.
your scouts.
If you were sorry, you would have done something 6 months ago.
Sorry about my computer.
Anyways, yeah, so we'll be back again this Friday for a Sicko sound off, which just reminded me today was Wednesday. Did not put it into the Discord yet for our guests, so I will be doing that right now. So if you want to potentially participate on Sicko sound off, make sure you get in our Discord. It's in the notes, whether you're looking on YouTube or on the podcast. It's in the notes. The link's there. Join our Discord. It's always popping and happening. And for everyone out there, again, we appreciate you guys. All our Patreons, thank you for supporting. All our YouTube members now, again, if you don't know and haven't heard, our memberships are back on YouTube, so you can join just 99 cents, get to all the emojis, the cool badges and such. So go ahead and hit that join button. And I guess we'll see you guys on Friday for whoever's hosting Sicko Sound Off, because we don't know that part either yet. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Go.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.